God bless you, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Temple of Clarity. If this is your first time, keep your eyes open. What's happening is a transmission of light, a transmission of love, a transmission and an awakening of your higher self. Look through the eyes of your soul. Do not try to think things out, but absorb what is coming to you. I want to thank you, Suresh Ramaswamy, my brother, my friend, my teacher, a modern day holy man. When we are listening to him, take advantage of this opportunity to see behind the words, go beyond the mind, touch the infinite with your soul. Let us all just visualize this with me together as we co-create a garland of flowers made of all the love for God, for Guru, for teacher of truth. And as we co-create this garland, the angels see this vision of our hearts. Each flower from each one of us, we now create from the highest, purest love, light of Krishna. And now we place it over Suresh Ramaswamy as a blessing and an honoring. And I am so grateful for your coming again to bring these higher teachings, these beautiful ways of expressing divinity in time and space that have not been articulated before. I am so grateful for this. With that said, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis, for those inspired words, for the expression of such heartfelt love. We could just sit in that and bask in that the rest of the time. And that's so beautiful. Thank you again. It's great to be here again in the Temple of Clarity. It's a real joy. It's a real joy. And so greetings of light to everyone. And just sitting here, and really everyone joining us from all parts of the world, you are right here with us. The vibration in this space is so incredible. Really, the more we can take that in, and maybe just a little bit of attention to what I'm saying, but mostly drinking in these vibrations would be great. So today we're looking at awakening, specifically keys to awakening. I'd like to share a little story. So there's this man who wanted to meet his friend who used to live in some remote corner of the country. So he set out driving, and very soon he was, off the major highways, taking these smaller country roads, because it's this remote town he was looking for. And this is the first time he was going there. So he wasn't quite sure how to get there. But, like us, he has GPS and Google Maps. So he was like, I think I can get there. Well, what he didn't count on was after a little while, he was off in a space where there was no signal. And now he was mostly guessing where to go. He knew roughly the direction. But once you're in this country roads, right? There's thick foliage and the roads are winding. Pretty soon he has no idea where he is. And he's desperately looking for some help. Now, unlike around here, you don't keep bumping into gas stations and stuff. There's no gas station. There's nobody. So now, instead of looking for the town, he's like, if only I can find somebody who's going to help me. That's really all I need. A clue. And nothing for miles and miles and miles. Absolutely nothing. And then he sees the small road going off to a farm. And he thinks, well, maybe there's got to be somebody there in that farm. So he takes that little road. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but this actually, something like this happened to me a few years back. I was in Kauai, and we're digressing a little bit, but I landed at the airport, got a rental car, fired up my Google Maps, punched in the address for my hotel, which is a well-known hotel. I figured there's no problem here. And I'm driving on the main road, and then GPS says, make a right here. And sure enough, I make a right, and it takes me off the main road into some small road. But I have a lot of faith in Google Maps, so I'm like, it's going to take me there. And it's going to take me the shortest path, right? It's optimized. So I take this little road, and it gets littler and littler and bumpier, and I'm starting to feel a little concerned. And then I start seeing signs, restricted space, and now I'm like, Google Maps has to put you on public roads. I mean, it can't put you in some private roads. And then I look at the map, it has turned into a very tiny dotted road. This is not a good sign. And eventually I say, I'm going to turn back. So I had to turn back, go back to the main highway and take the slightly longer route, but a little more predictable. But anyway, getting back to our story. So this man is taking this small road, driving through farms, and luckily, he finally sees this person, the farmer, and he feels like he's won the lottery, right? In the middle of nowhere, you found a guy, a real living, breathing person. So he gets out of the car, goes to this farmer and says, I'm looking for this town, how do I get to this town where his friend lives? And the farmer takes a long look at him and says, son, if I were you, I wouldn't start from here. So, not quite the answer he was probably looking for. But if you think about awakening, right? We think about spiritual awakening, enlightenment. We read amazing stories about beings, really very advanced spiritual beings. We see pictures all around here who have scaled these peaks of spiritual attainment. And we read that and we feel like, wow, this is amazing. But I'm just an ordinary person. Is it possible for me to get there? And we might tell ourselves what the farmer said to this person. It's like, if you want to get there, I wouldn't start from where you are, is what we might tell ourselves, right? Why? Because we feel, well, I meditate, but I really struggle. My mind is always thinking of this and that. I've got bills to pay. I've got this chronic issue, my back hurts, it's not comfortable, and my relationships, well, let's not even go there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And I've been saving some money, but really, at this rate, I'm going to have to work till the day I die. If I had a chunk of money somehow, believe me, I would spend all my time focusing on awakening. But I had to wake up in the morning every Monday, go to work, and earn a few dollars. So all these are reasons why we tell ourselves, that I don't know if it's for me. I may be in the wrong place to even go to these peaks. And luckily for us, that is not the case. That's not true. And let me see if I can elaborate on why that is. The first thing is, if you think about back to the moment when you were created, right? It was hundreds, thousands, millions of years back, maybe? Whatever it was a long time back. The moment you were created, your essence came into being, and that essence, its qualities, its intrinsic nature is the same as the infinity that it came out of. So here we are, right from the beginning. We are this reflection of the infinite, spark of the infinite, and that can never change. And that is a guarantee, if you see it, of our success. Because we don't have to become something. We don't have to become this amazing infinite being. We are that from day one. So it's almost like somebody made sure that you are set up for success. In fact, you're so set up for success that it's impossible to fail. It's literally impossible to fail because it's already baked into you, into not just some superficial aspect of you, the deepest aspect of you, it's baked into that. So if you look at that, wow, we're almost like we're already there, in a sense. And so we need to realize that. And what happens if we start moving away from our essence? Like we get caught up in this, we get caught up in that, or we think, oh, my real goal is something else. When we do that, we fail. Have you noticed? No matter what you do, you fail. And what do I mean by that? Notice that no matter what job you get, what relationship you get, what city you live in, no matter how you try to line it up, it's never fully fulfilling. It's like, oh, this is pretty good, I kind of made it, but well, this can't be it. I mean, this is clearly not it. I got a great job, but so what? It's not it. You can feel that. You can feel that you're failing continuously. And the failure is not a bad failure. We normally think failure means, oh, I'm a failure, awful. No, it's not that kind of failure. It's the failure that tells you that the real thing is something else. What if you found the ultimate city to live in, the ultimate relationship, the ultimate job, the ultimate house on the right street, and you're going to be fulfilled forever? Guess what? You would just keep on going with that, right? You would simply not go down the path of seeing and recognizing your infinite nature, which would be tragic. So what happens is we're set up for success, and everything else we're going to fail. So In other words, as soon as you start kind of getting the hang of it, all you need to do is reorient yourself, because you're going down all these by roads and different exits. You got to say, wait a minute, what I really want to focus on is this, my true nature. That's the ultimate thing. So what is awakening? Awakening is, you could say, discovering our true nature, right? It's discovering our true nature, which is infinite. And we could say, to be more precise, it's rediscovering our nature. It's recognizing our true nature. It's reclaiming our true nature, right? In other words, we're returning to that, and this time we know it. We are directly realizing this thing which has always been there. So one of the keys is simply this clarity of understanding what the heck awakening is, why is it relevant, why do I care, why is it important? And when we start doing that, things start changing. Everything in our life starts reorienting itself in a way that is in support of that intention to awaken. So let's take a moment right now and ask ourselves, what is my intention? What's my intention for my life? What's my intention for being here? And let's pause and take stock of what our deepest intention is and get in touch with that, because that's going to change the rest of the evening. That's going to change everything, because as soon as you clearly see this wanting to awaken, you will literally start feeling a different set of vibrations within you. It's like right now, even you can feel a certain tingling, exciting type of feeling, which is something within you which is saying, yes, all right, this is it, this is what I want, right? So that's why we're here today. This is not so much about giving you a lot of information or philosophy about awakening. So you don't have to be thinking, I need to understand every little thing, I need to capture it, I need to go home, I need to study it, I need to introspect on it, I need to journal about it, and then I need to meditate on it. And then if I do that for years and years and years, one fine day, when the planets are just aligned just right, then the skies will open up and I too will become enlightened. Right? So that's sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me too. But how about now? How about now? And how about if you could not understand anything? Maybe I'm speaking in some foreign language. You can't understand a thing. But you simply feel into what's here. Then, and you're also very clear that I'm here to awaken. So just these two things. I'm here to awaken and I'm feeling into the vibration. Well, that'll change things. That'll change things. Because this sharing is primarily about triggering this shift in consciousness. And we have fortunately tremendous company here, and you just kind of look at the walls, and there is such a powerful set of frequencies. And that's really what this sharing is about. I would say what is being shared here is a frequency or an emanation of light that is specifically formulated to trigger this alchemical shift within your being that causes you to instantly recognize your own infinite nature. And that's at the heart of it. This critical piece requires that you want it. So you're always in this place of power. Do I want this or not? It's your choice. Am I ready for this or not? Is something you might think to yourself. And as I was saying earlier, you're more than ready for it, as far as I'm concerned. Because you could have been in 1,000 other places right now. But you're here. And my intention for being here is to be with you, souls who have reached this point, this cusp where they are ripe and ready to make that leap. And so we've been brought together. There's been a conspiracy, a good conspiracy, a divine conspiracy that brought us together at this point in time. And that gives me a lot of confidence that you're more than ready for it. But you still get to, and this applies to everyone who is listening online, whether in real time or at some point down the road. This is a very potent combination of us being together in this state of ripeness, wantingness, readiness, receptivity. Because that opens the doors. And then when light is shared, you can take it in, you can drink deeply. And when you drink deeply, magic happens inside. Consciousness does not change by us figuring out things. Have you noticed? It's not so much about, I figured it out, I've approved it, now it can happen because, I'm the boss. It just doesn't happen like that. It happens when internally you have the qualities that matter. Pretty high on top of that is humility. Humility is very different than bursting with knowledge. Humility is, in fact, saying, I don't know anything really. When I really am honest, I don't know anything. And we feel that inside. But I do know something. I do know that I yearn for this union with the infinite. That's probably the only thing I really know. Everything else I've picked up on scraps here and there, and I've tried to stitch it together, and I've tried to make sense, with the few brain cells I have left. I've tried to make something work, but that's not it. It's about this humility, because humility, it starts this process of receiving and really taking it in deeply. So when you drink this light at deep levels, it's very nourishing for the soul, because the soul immediately recognizes light. It doesn't need to read a book. What is light? What are the frequencies of light? What are the frequency I need? You don't need any of that. The soul recognizes light, and in that drinking, there is this quantum shift. And we might call that quantum shift awakening, because we can see that I had a certain kind of consciousness, and now I'm suddenly somewhere else. I'm in a higher state where I have a more direct knowing of truth. So this is why we're here. In fact, one great sage, he said, knowledge is a form of ignorance. Okay, knowledge is a form of ignorance. No, it's all of us, really. He's talking to all of us. In fact, for some people, it might be like, what? Or how could that be, right? Because knowledge, if you think about what we ordinarily think of as knowledge, we're trying to assimilate information, trying to put it all together, analyzing these pieces, and somehow thinking all these pieces, if I analyze it, somehow the real thing will become apparent. If I were to take your driver's license and shred it, okay, and so here we are, it's got name, address, date of birth, driver's license number, hair color, eye color, all these kinds of details, right?
Yes.
Which is, in the ordinary world, we think that's what I am. That's who I am, right? I'm John Smith. I live on so-and-so street. I have a job. I do this. This is what I am. But that is simply our outer appearance.
That's the physical part you're
That's
talking
the
about.
physical part, exactly. Now you might say, well, that's all there is to it. What else is there? That's all I can see. I drive this car, I come back home, I have dinner, I go to sleep, wake up in the morning, coffee, breakfast. This is what it's all about. But I know you know more than that, because there's a whole aspect of us which is not on the driver's license, right?
Correct.
What is that part? What would you say is that thing? So this, what you called our inner world, right? That is now getting into who we truly are. Because if we
Correct.
start peeling that,
Yes.
we start looking at, am I my thoughts? Am I my emotions? Am I my memories, the things I did 5 years back? Is that what I am? We start seeing that, no, that's not me. That's not me. So we keep going deeper and deeper till we get to our essence. This essence is the core of who we are. Okay, so essence is not on the physical level. So it's literally, you can't say this is what essence looks like. It's blue colored, it's 5 feet tall. You can't say that. Okay. It's literally intangible. It doesn't have attributes. So you cannot say this is what it looks like. So this is why, and we're going to do this in a minute, where we are going to explore this as a meditation, which is the real answer to your question. Because no matter how much is said about this essence, the real point is to directly feel it, directly recognize it. And that's the key. The essence is not something we can read about or hear about. We have to directly see it within us. And that's the kind of thing we're going to be doing more of. So I think you'll see more as we go along. There's a quote by Rumi that I want to share, which is, Rumi said, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open?" right? Some of you might have come across this. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? And this is interesting because if you imagine we're in some kind of prison and we don't know it, then we just continue to stay in prison. You would never have the thought, oh boy, I really want to escape this prison. You just keep staying in prison. And so this is an important takeaway for us, which is awareness. Awareness is a key piece. So that as we're going through life, if we're aware, we start noticing more and more about what Rumi is saying about this prison. And a lot of folks, when they are, if you look at how they're living life, it's not so much about escaping from prison. They are mostly thinking, how can I make this more comfortable, right? I heard there's a new 4K HD TV available. What if I got that? That would be so cool. And then if I got, unlimited cable and everything, it's so amazing to have all that. This is the typical, direction that we go in. How can I get a better mattress here? And things like that. So it's a trap. It's a trap that we can fall into if we're not aware. As soon as we become aware, first we might feel a little bad that, oh, why am I in this prison? I'm a good person. It's not like I'm doing something horrible. So there is a little bit of getting over that. Why am I in this prison? And our tendency is to start analyzing that. Now, this is yet another trap that we want to avoid. Because if we keep analyzing why we are in prison, it's an endless pursuit, which doesn't get us out of a prison. It just tells you why you're there, and you can get more and more intrigued and more interested, but that's useless information. What your focus should be is, how can I get out of this prison? And in our analogy, awakening is the equivalent of getting out of prison. So if we look at this prison and say, what's going on with this? Rumi's quote is very encouraging. He's like, it's not even locked, the door. What kind of prison is this? It's not even locked. So if we decide to get out of it, it's not that hard. The second thing, which I find really very funny almost, is the walls of the prison are full of holes. It's like Swiss cheese. It's full of holes. So it's not like this hard to escape prison. The walls are very flaky, full of holes. And the door may not even be locked. So it's like, if you become aware you're in prison and you want to get out of it, turns out it's quite doable. It's quite doable. So this is very good news. And so let's take another closer look at what might we want to focus on to really escape. So what are these holes, right? What are these holes? If you pay attention throughout the day, specifically if you start noticing, for example, your breath. If you start noticing your breath very closely, then what you start noticing is every breath, at the end of it, there's an opening. where you can glimpse this infinite nature. We can glimpse the essence we're talking about. So literally every breath, there's an opportunity to see what's going on. So that's a big hole right there. It's all the time, all over the place. You don't have to go looking for it. If you were to look at the doors and the walls, we may have this tendency to think somebody somewhere has to come and open the door. The guard has to come and open the door. Or we may think some other person in my life, maybe my partner, has to open the door. Maybe my boss has to open the door. Maybe my teacher has to open the door. Maybe an ascended master has to open the door. It's all these things we think somebody else has to do something, otherwise I'm stuck here. Sorry. I love this idea of awakening, but I'm stuck, sorry. So this is an important piece where you have to play the most important role. You have to say, I'm the one who's going to actually take this critical step. And I may have a lot of support, but I'm the one who has to take that critical step of choosing to step out of the prison. So each of these has many ramifications, right? But these are the key things. What I'd like to do now, we have a pretty good basic understanding. I'd like us to now explore it internally. If that sounds good, we can have a meditation, and we can go within and look at some of these, gaping holes that are available to us. So let's do that. Let's do that. So if you want to just settle in, and you can keep your eyes closed if that helps you internalize. If you prefer to keep it open, that's also fine. Start noticing your breath. Let it flow naturally, but as it's flowing, notice each phase of the breath. So when you're inhaling, notice that this is an inhalation. And as you exhale, notice this is an exhalation. And as you do this, resist the urge to change the breath. We're not trying to slow it down. We're not trying to speed it up. We're simply noticing it. Now notice that there's a small pause. After you inhale, there's a small pause. And after you exhale, there's another pause. Now, notice that the pause after the exhale is a little bit longer than the pause after the inhale, just naturally. And I want you to linger in the pause after the exhale. Because in that pause, there's a window where in the utter stillness that is present, you can feel into something much vaster. It's as if you've opened the window and you're looking at the sky. As the breath continues, you can come back to this pause. And as you rest in it, as you rest in that pause, drop every concept, every idea, everything. And we're going to call upon light to illuminate the truth. Because we are in this space, in the stillness where we are open, receptive, and this illuminating pulse of light can light up this inner space, giving us a direct knowing, a direct knowing of our essence, of this infinity that we're embodying. And as you hear this bell that I am just about to strike, I encourage you to drop all ideas and concepts, and drink deeply this light which is there for you to help you awaken to this magnificent truth of who you truly are. Feel this wave of light coursing through your entire being, clearing anything that's obscuring the truth, that's obscuring your direct perception, your direct knowing of this infinite nature. Feel this amazing light pouring down on you through the top of your head, into your being, bringing with it many blessings. Blessings from the higher dimensions of light. Blessings to open at the deepest levels of your being your ability to intuit the deepest truths blessings to help you live those truths. So that your entire life becomes a beautiful expression of these sublime truths. It becomes a beautiful expression of your infinite nature, your unity with all of creation. And so let this light descend through you, from the top, through the head, through the throat, into the heart. And the heart blossoms to receive this light. Feel the heart expansion. Feel this expansive love. A love that is universal, a love that transcends any limitation. Let this love permeate every cell of your being. Every one of us is going to feel this in a unique and special way, which is just right for us. So tune into that which is unfolding within your being. And now let's radiate that love out in all directions from the center of our being as we joyfully share the abundance of love and light that we're feeling in the core of our being. Let this emanation help. Let it serve everyone. Helping them recognize their own deepest truths. As we send out this love and light, there's even more light pouring into us. feel into that light. Feel into that light. Let us sit in silence for a few minutes as we integrate these sublime energies flowing through our being. Notice the vastness within you. Now, let's take a moment to acknowledge and express our gratitude for the great beings who are silently uplifting and inspiring us, and who are pouring generously these amazing, transforming beams of light. You can feel this light in the depths of your being. You can even feel it within your body. You may feel it as tingling. You may feel sensations of warmth or coolness. This light is pouring. It's cascading down on us. And this is one of the most powerful ways we have to wake up. Is to directly connect, is to directly engage with this light of infinity. Because the super high frequencies of this light, they have the ability to help us transmute anything that we feel is burdening us. We can release into this downpour of light. So take a moment right now. If you feel there's anything in your life that you feel is impeding your progress, your ability to move forward confidently, release that into the light. And notice the space opening up within you as you release. This space that's opening up in you is inviting you to expand beyond the constructs of the mind, directly into the higher dimensions. And as you do that, you're stepping into this higher and higher planes of light. In these planes, space, time, they simply dissolve. And that is what the awakened state feels like, where you have no edges, boundaries. Your identity has gone way beyond the finite identity into that something that's indescribable. in this vastness, there is no division that can be seen. There is simply this one consciousness, this one ocean. And this is the inner recognition that you can come back to any time. And as you do that, it increasingly becomes a part of your being, so that you no longer see yourself as a finite person, but instead as this attributeless infinity who is simply appearing and functioning through a finite instrument. And so you can let that soak into the depths of your being. So all aspects of your being recognize and step into this truth. Beautiful. And I'd like you to continue in this meditative space if you like. So you can keep your eyes closed if you like, or if you wish to, you can open your eyes as well. I want to share a couple of quotes, and I also want to, if there's any questions that have come in from those who are online, I'd love to address that as well before we wrap up here. Okay.
So before we get to that question, I was just observing how I was not thinking in your meditation and your guidance, and I was just in the infinite.
Fantastic.
And I love the title of your book, Just Be.
Yes.
Infinity. And it takes religion and doctrine and dogma, and we can just be infinity, just be the soul, free of the mind, free of the noise, living in joy.
Yes, indeed. Love how you've condensed it all down. Fantastic. So this quote, I love this quote. It's from Stefan Bodian. He said, the mind is constantly trying to figure out what page it's on in the story of itself. So the mind is constantly trying to figure out what page it's on in the story of itself. Close the book. Burn the bookmark. End of story. Now the dance begins. So notice how he's talking about this significant transition, right? You're like, okay, what's going to happen next? This is happening, that's happening. There is a certain continuity to the story. And then there's this discontinuity, which is the quantum shift. The discontinuity is close the book, burn the bookmark, end the story. Now the dance begins. So that's what awakening offers to all of us. And of course, it's up to each one of us whether we want to go down that path, how we choose to navigate it, etc. Right? All those are really up to us. And I believe each of us has tremendous wisdom, tremendous knowledge from our own experiences that we can bring to bear on navigating this path. But I wanted to specifically highlight that this awakening is something we don't have to keep flipping pages all day long, so to speak, in the story of life. To arrive at some point in the future where maybe I too will get there. We can, at any given time, knowing that we are built for success, as I mentioned earlier, we are wired for success. Because of that, we can say, you know what, right now I've reached that point. I've reached that point right now. So close the book, put it aside, and step out of the prison, right? You can step out of the prison. It's you can do that anytime. And so in my book, I talk about a lot of things, because you might probably have 100 questions at this point and thinking, well, what about this? What about that? Yes, there's a lot of things could be said further more to what I just said. And as Dennis was mentioning, in my book, I elaborate on some of these things. I talk, for instance, about a framework to navigate the path. So that can help some people have a more big picture understanding so that they can understand how things are unfolding. But what we've touched on right now is a critical element that is available to anybody who is ripe, who feels, I want that quantum shift. So as we close, and I'm happy to stick around and answer further questions, I want to share some resources, because these might be helpful if you want to pursue further some of these topics. Firstly, there's a handout that's sitting there on that table. And for those who are online, if you go to my website, justbebook.org. If you go to my website and contact me, I will send you the handout that I'm talking about. So the handout is called Awaken to Your Infinite Nature, and it's got a bunch of useful information. So feel free to grab a copy of that. Copies of my book are available if you want to take a look or if you want to buy those. There's also guided meditation CD called Tasting Infinity that you're welcome to check out. It's also available as a downloadable MP3 for folks who don't want to touch CDs anymore, but have it on your smartphone instead. So that's available. And finally, I want to mention that I have a retreat coming up in October, October 23rd and 24th. It's called Tasting Infinity. And it's very much along the lines of what we just have been talking about, but an entire weekend. So lots of time to go into various areas of interest and to soak in the light in a bigger way. So that's going to be in La Jolla, as I said, October 23rd and 24th. And on my website, you'll find all the details. So that's, I think it's probably time to wrap up. Thank you all for being so attentive and so receptive. I'm just delighted to be here with all of you. And I look forward to further conversations. I look forward to further meetings as things unfold. Thank you all. Thank you.